we're live with one of my very favorite people. And I know I say that a lot, Roberto, but I really mean it when I'm talking about you.
Thank
So
you.
when my cup runneth over and I'm like, I know I'm almost there with this concept that I have. Like I really want to push the envelope on this idea and move it to the next piece. Usually it's a piece of a story that I'm missing. And Roberto is my go-to person when I get to that point. I meet him in a Zoom and we brainstorm for 90 minutes straight, and then I birth my next idea. So I wanted to, as a very special gratitude gift over Thanksgiving week for you guys, our community, I wanted to introduce you to my love, my Roberto, and have him just share his heart on 2025 practice growth marketing ideas more like how do we get in the right mental space for practice growth? How do we not let the fear monster get the best of us? How do we take the leap when we know that we have more people to serve and we're ready to rock and roll? Roberto, I'm handing the mic over to you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jody. I love you. Thanks so much for the invitation. I love you, and I love your team already. I love your crowd. I love your tribe. I love your team here. So today I want to do something different. I personally do this exercise once a year. I take like 4 hours and I go to a place and I do it. We don't have 4 hours today, but what I want to give you is a blueprint. I want to give you today a way of thinking about something. So I promise you, if you have a pen and paper, and if you scramble pen and paper real quick, I'm going to give you a process, okay? I'm going to give a process in 30 minutes that you can use this. And I've been doing this for many, many, many years, and it has been life-changing, okay? It's a process for everybody. I like to do this towards like December, January, and this is my mindset process.
Great day to Making Chiropractic Center. This is Victoria.
Whoa,
How can I help you today?
whoa. Hold on 1 second. Hey guys, can you please mute out so that we are not listening to your phone calls? That would be awesome. And again, if you are watching us in the Zoom, if you're with us, all of our clients, our sweeties, come into the Zoom. If you're watching us live and you have questions for Roberto, you can drop them where you're seeing this. Please keep your mics on mute. Okay, sorry, Roberto.
So I want to make sure everybody has a pen and paper first. And I also want to make sure you can draw this pyramid. Just draw on a piece of paper. Doesn't have to be pretty, but just do it. And on this pyramid, please, I want to make sure you have 7 layers in your pyramid. Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds. We're all gonna do it. I'm gonna put on my clock here for 30 minutes. I'll stop in 30 minutes. Okay. Now, years ago, when I was working for Tony Robbins back in 2002, I was exposed to this process. I customized it. The original work it's called Neurological Levels of Thinking. And the whole idea, that's our mindset, how we think about things. We have a hierarchy, right? That's the whole idea. And if you ever stop and remember a time in your life when you felt unstoppable, when things are going amazing, when you felt like Wonder Woman, Superman, and you felt like, man, I feel like amazing, and things are flowing, most likely all these layers, they're aligned, right? Which I'm gonna cover right now. And then sometimes in life, when we get stuck, when you have a goal, when we know what to do, but we don't do what we know, usually this pyramid is not aligned, or there's like maybe one layer that is not aligned, therefore we are off track. Okay, so please write down real quick on the pyramid that you draw down. I want you guys to write down these words: purpose, identity, values, beliefs, skills, behavior, and environment. And if you just listen to us, try it. If you don't have a pen and paper, open up the notes on your phone and your iPad and just write it down. Okay. So the whole idea.
I'm taking notes, guys, and I'm also screenshotting for you. So if you're one of our people, all of this will be where the recording is.
So the whole idea is this, and I want to use like a very unique example to understand. Let's say let's say I'm an accountant, okay? And I use that profession just to create contrast, understand? So my purpose as an accountant is to protect my clients from IRS, to help them save money, is to make sure they're compliant. My identity, meaning how I see myself. I'm the best accountant in town, for example. My values, I value integrity, I value education, I value precision. One of my beliefs as an accountant, you have to be proactive with your taxes. My skills as an accountant, I have a CPA and I have a master in finance. My behavior, I go to the office every single day. I analyze spreadsheets, and my environment is my community in New Jersey, for example, right? Let's say. Now, let's say that one day on Sunday, I go to the church, and on Sunday, I had this huge revelation. And I say, you know what? I don't want to be an accountant anymore. I want to become a priest. So literally go back home on Sunday, like, I'm quitting. All right? So if you think about it, and I know it's an example, but there's a reason. And the reason I tell is now, as a priest or future priest, I changed the highest thing on my pyramid, which is my purpose, my highest level of thinking. And because I changed that, your purpose, everything eventually, that's going to dictate everything else you do. So when you talk about marketing, when you talk about speaking, when you talk about Dr. Jody has this amazing practice suite, right? She teaches you marketing, automation. When you think about those things, like sometimes we know is the right path, but sometimes you're not going as fast as you want to. It's not because you don't have the tools or we don't have access to tools. It's because we don't have enough emotional power to drive us to implement ideas. And that power comes from your purpose, right? And that's why it's important when you start talking about next year, when you start talking about your career, your business, reinvent your business, you're adopting new marketing strategies, you got to think about why you do what you do, right? So your purpose is, especially a guy who came from Brazil 27 years ago and live in America, American citizen now, live here, I live in South Carolina. In America, you can do pretty much everything you want to do. Literally. I had one time I was working for Tony Robbins. I met this girl, very successful lady. Actually, was in New Jersey. I met her years, and I asked her, "What do you do for a living?" She goes, "I'm a makeup artist." And I'm like, "Oh, do you do makeup?" And no, she goes, "No, I only do eyebrows." Right? Really? And she goes, "Yeah, she has 17 offices, like the little studios, crushing it, doing eyebrow. So can you make a good living just doing eyebrows? The answer is what? Yes. So I'm saying that is because the most successful marketers, entrepreneurs, that's how I operate. Now, this is when I used to live in San Diego. I live in South Carolina now. As you can see on the right here, there's a little palm tree. Like when I moved here, if you've never been to South Carolina, there's palm trees everywhere. And my wife said, Roberto, I'm going to yoga. You know, Dr. Jody does CrossFit. It's kind of like Dr. Jody say, hey, I'm going to CrossFit. She tells her husband, hey, remove the palm tree. So no problem. As you can see here, it was a tiny one, right? And I'm like, of course, I can handle that. So my wife goes to yoga, and I go to YouTube University, how to remove a palm tree, because I'm a city boy. I grew up in Brazil, in a gigantic city. And I'm like, you know what? So I went to YouTube, and I noticed that they have, the guy in YouTube said, you just make a circle around a palm tree, right? And you start digging. And I did it. An hour passed by, 2 hours passed by, 3 hours into it. I'm sweating, digging, trying to move the palm tree, nothing. And I'm like, this is crazy. The hole was like knee deep. So after 4 hours, I gave up. So I told myself, you know what? My gardener is coming here on Monday, and he's going to help me remove it. So Monday comes, Justin, his name. And I say, hey, man, I need your help. He goes, what's up? He goes, come here. So I start walking towards the palm tree, and he started laughing already. And then then he said, Roberto, what are you trying to do? He goes, I'm trying to remove this palm tree. And really, guys, he looks down the palm tree. He looked at me and looked up like this. Down, palm tree. Look at me, look up, and start laughing. And he goes, you won't be able to it. And I said, how come? And he said, because the little palm tree, the roots are attached to the huge oak tree. The small palm tree found a way to attach itself to something bigger. What is your oak tree? What is your oak tree when you wake up every day? Something bigger than yourself. That oak tree is your purpose. That's when you started. And I've seen professionals sometimes they just keep doing what they're doing just because the money. Everybody wants to make money. This is like a given. Everybody wants to make a lot of money. I done 5,000 talks. I never met someone who say, I don't want more money. Everybody wants to make more money. So what's the difference? The difference is, I feel, is that the people who are truly attached and excited and clear about their oak tree, their purpose, something bigger than themselves, right? So as you shift from 2024, now this month is a good way to get clarity. You ask yourself why you do what you do, right? You're not going to answer right now, but for some people it's easy. For some people, they got to do some digging. So the purpose is the first level, right? The second level is your identity. Now, this, please write it down. You'll never be able to outperform your identity. You're never going to be able to outperform your identity. You're never going to be able to do more than your own identity. Roberto, what is my identity? Well, your identity is how you define yourselves, are the beliefs that you have about yourself. Now, obviously, we as human beings, we have many identities. We have an identity as a mom, dad, brother, sister, right? Friend, but then we also have an identity as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a doctor, as a marketer. Now, how many doctors, and Dr. Jody probably can speak better than I can on this, how many doctors, great chiropractors or doctors or functional medicine doctors, nutritionists, that they're brilliant technicians, brilliant, super smart, but they struggle because their marketing sucks, right? Dr. Jody, is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Because the identity is not there. So I always talk about, from my identity perspective, identity is basically the beliefs that you have about yourself. So one of the things that I learned in my career, okay, and especially after the social media, the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, that everybody's a marketer. And if you don't see yourself as a marketer, if that's not part of your identity, you're going to struggle. I'm not saying that you should be doing and learning everything, because you have Dr. Jody, you have the team, you have the suite, you have all those amazing things. But as a marketer, right, you have to think about your marketing, your practice, how you're doing it. You got to understand, you got to get into it.
Can I make a point here, Roberto?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wait, let me remove your pin. There we go.
Yeah.
What I've learned, I had this really interesting conversation last night with my sister, Pam Jarboe. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what I've learned is that if you don't clarify what your identity is, other people will do it for you. So
100%.
if you want to be known as the baby chiropractor in your town, or the
Yeah.
sports PT in your town, then everything that you do, everything that you touch, everything that you say, everything that you wear, every way that you do what you do is part of that, part of your brand of who you are. And if we miss this piece where we haven't identified what our identity is, people will make the assumption for you. And if they make the assumption for you, it's you're at the mercy of how people read you, and people read you through their own lenses, right? So if I'm really loud and I turn left when my right signal's on, and I never match my clothes, and I'm a little bit heavy and I'm a little awkward, but I'm really funny, people will create their own brand of who I am. However, if everywhere I go and thing I do and everything I say has to do with being a baby chiropractor, all of my loudness and my right turn when the left signal is on, that's just by the way, because I've already set the tone of my identity.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thanks, Roberto. I learned from you best.
No, it's beautiful. No, it's beautiful. Because we have to 100%, when you change yourself, your audience change how they see you. And if you don't have clarity, if it's lacking, right? When you change yourself, your audience change how they see you. Like an example, if you become like the #1 pediatric chiropractic in town, let's say, that's my goal, let's say, then the most important thing is, like, do I see myself that way? Right? Do I believe intrinsically that's who I am. I give a quick story. When I was working for Tony Robbins back in 2004, I was doing a presentation for a company called Primerica. Primerica, they sell, as a multi-level company, they sell insurance, investments, all that jazz. And in order to do that, you got to take all the licenses that are an average financial planner takes. They got to take. It's just a different business model. So I done my talk. There's 100 people in the room, and this guy come to me and say, "Hey, can I chat with you?" I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I have been in Primerica for 5 years." I said, "Okay." And he said, "I took all the classes." I said, "Okay, all the licenses, great." And he said, "I'm having a really hard time building my team." And I said, "What do you think that is?" And he said, "Well, during the day, from like 7 to 3 or whatever, I am a FedEx driver. Then I come home, I put my suit, and now I'm going to talk about insurance and investments to the people. And the problem, Roberto, is that people see me as a FedEx driver." But when he said that, I saw his face change, kind of like, almost like his body was telling me something, and I picked up something. And I said, "Let me ask you something. When you go home and put your suit, who are you really? A financial advisor or a FedEx driver on a suit?" And he looked at me and said, "I'm a FedEx driver on a suit." Right? So this identity concept Dr. Jody is talking about, I'm talking about, that you have to be clear. You have to be clear. And it's not about change who you are, it's about expanding who you are. So the question is, who do you need to become to express and fulfill your purpose? Right? Who do you have to become? And then you step into that expanded identity, and you communicate through marketing, through your voice, through your stories, through your communication. All right. So as you see this pyramid called neurological levels of thinking, they all align. So once you're clear about your purpose, your identity, the third piece is your values, what's important to you. There's a great resource. I think, Dr. Jody, don't you have a training on values? You do have one, right?
Many of them, yeah.
Yeah, many, right? So reach out to Dr. Jody, because that is a longer conversation. When you talk about what's important to you, it's just like, it's hard to talk about. But values, basically, the way I see it, is the things that are important to me, right? And you can have two different people, including a wife and a husband, that have the same values, and they're going to argue all the time because their values, they have in a reverse order. If you think about it, right? Let's say, as a crazy example, love, finances, God, adventure, right? So the first one is, let's say, God for this person, adventure is number 4. And for the other person, adventure is first, love is 4th. You see, could have like, even though, we have the same values, but we're always fighting, is because we have something called values hierarchy. Not only you know what's important to you, but then you put them in a hierarchy. So for me, having clarity around your values, this is a great quote from Dr. Ken Blanchard. He's a PhD. He wrote a book called The 1 Minute Manager. He's a great management guru. We've done an event in the past, and he said the most important thing in life is to decide what's most important. And so you gotta slow down, right? You're doing all this marketing, all this automation. You have your practice. You gotta ask yourself, at this point in my career, what's most important to me, right? Because you're gonna align your values. You're gonna align with your purpose and your identity. Now, for me, I did this exercise years ago, and years ago I changed it. I have add a couple here, but for example, I feel like the secret sauce in values, which most people don't talk about, is this. Once you're clear about what do you value, what's most important to you, you're being able to connect those values. Stay with me, guys. This is important. You're able to connect your values to your behavior. Once you're able, your behaviors, the things you do all day long, okay? When you like your chores, your tasks, your behavior, if you consciously or unconsciously, you connect those behaviors with your values or the things that are most important to you, man, life is gonna be better. As an example, I do a lot of speaking. That's one of my things that I love to do. And here on the right, you can see my core values, health. Do I need to be like, so an example, right? Do I need to be healthy to speak? Yes. When I'm speaking, am I creating some type of love connection, the audience, hopefully connection? Yes. Am I creating positive impact? Hopefully I am creating positive impact. Do I have to grow in order to become a great speaker, communicator, leader, on training, invest in myself, write, memorize, work on my stories? Yes. Am I hopefully advancing the success financially my company? Yes. Am I having fun 100%? So, by the way, this will be different for you, but my point being is this: once you clear about what do you value, you take the time to say, okay, what do I value? And then you say, what are my major core things that I do in my career? And for me, one is speaking. And now speaking for me is not chore anymore. It has never been a chore. Why? Because the act of speaking, as an example, I'm doing an example here. As an example, I am experiencing this value is important to me. You see, being aware of your values is one thing, having the values in your wall is one thing, which means nothing. My perspective, nothing. It means nothing. Having value statement, mission statement, knowing your values, but not being able to live them, experience them, right? If you're not able to, then it means nothing. But if you are, then is the secret sauce. Why? Because if you experience what you value, then you're going to be more fulfilled, right? And Tony Robbins says, I love his line, he said, success without fulfillment is failure. So being successful without being fulfilled, you're failing long term. So the fulfillment part, to being fulfilled, comes from your value systems, being able to experience, right? So what do you value? How can I experience these values at home and work, right? It's not going to be perfect. Like in my case, for example, I value my family, but sometimes I'm traveling. How do you do it? Right? Well, I work from home. I have, during the week, I stop at 5:30 because I have dinner with my kids every day. So things like that allows you to become aware. All right, so we talk about purpose, identity, values, beliefs, and skills. I have 10 more minutes. Now, this one is a big one, is your belief system, okay? Your belief system, every time you have a goal, say 2025, I want to make this happen in my marketing, my company, my practice. You have 3 questions that run you unconsciously. Number one, is it possible? Because it's not like, Roberto, I never asked this question. Well, but I'm telling you, your mind is asking, is it possible? Because if you're not asking this question, because if you don't truly believe it's possible, you're not going to take action. All right? So let me do a quick exercise here. Now, if I want to throw this question at you guys here, and maybe we can put in a chat here. How many of you in a call believe that it's possible to learn more than 7,000 words in Portuguese in 1 minute? Can you guys raise your hand here? I want to see in the chat. Anybody? Anybody believes that it's possible? No one?
I don't think so.
No one. All right. No one believes. All right. So here you go. Dr. Jody, if you want to get your timer there, timing. All right. Ready, guys? Here. So here's my promise, right? No one believes that it's possible to learn 7,000 words in Portuguese in 1 minute. So here you go. Any word that ends in English with a T-I-O-N, you switch to cedilha A-O. So like this, communication becomes comunicação, aviation becomes aviação, determination becomes determinação. You have 2,587 words in English that you can change, right? Rule number 2, any word that ends with T-Y, you change to D-A-D-E. So community, we say comunidade, identity, say identidade, prosperity, say prosperidade. There's 1,882 words. And the third one is this: any word that ends with AL, guess what? It's the same. So natural, natural, animal, animal, sexual, sexual. 3,544. Congratulations. You just learned 7,000 words in Portuguese in less than a minute. Well, but a minute ago, Dr. Jody said that's not possible. Well, a lot of people say it's not possible because they don't have a strategy. All right? Now, yeah. Awaken chiropractic, like that. I love it. Thanks for the heart. Look, it's about having what, guys? It's not possible until we have what? Until we have a what? A strategy. Okay? And that's what Dr. Jody is a master at. Number two, so now I know it's possible. What's the second question I ask myself? Am I capable? Right? And then it's like, I want you guys to remember this. You can never prove that you cannot achieve a goal because you cannot prove a negative. Okay, just remember that. You cannot prove that you cannot do things to me because you cannot prove a negative. The only thing that you can prove is that you have not done yet. Oh, I haven't launched a marketing campaign successfully. Well, haven't done. It's not you cannot do it. You haven't done yet. All right? I haven't done XYZ yet. So you got to put the yet. Especially in the realm of business and marketing. Most of us, we're not talking about dunking on an NBA court. We're talking about growing a business. So the point being is like, number one, it's possible. Number two, you're capable of doing it. Just because you haven't done yet doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And the third one is the worthiness piece. Right? Is like the worthiness is the one that makes no sense. Because the first two understand, like, you know what? Is it possible? You'd be like, yes, possible, yes. Am I capable? Well, maybe I'm not, but someone else is. We have the comparison conversation, which is not good. And then the third one is the worthiness piece, right? I remember when I came to San Diego, California, when I moved from Brazil, my first car was a Toyota Tercel 1986, 200,000 miles on a beat up, barely passed the smoke test. And my buddy came up from Brazil to spend a month in California. And he was staying in my house. And as a gift, he said, you know what? I'm going to find a car for you because in Brazil, he used to buy and sell cars. So back in the day, this is like 87 maybe, or 97. It was many, many years ago. And he got those Auto Trader magazines, right? He used to have the Auto Trader. And he goes and he calls me up and say, hey, man, I found a car. It's a Toyota Tercel 1990, 4 years newer. Half 100,000 miles, right? Your car has 200,000, so half the mileage. Brand new car, brand new, almost brand new, $1,500. And he said, get this car for $1,500 and sell your car for $1,500. And you upgrade 4 years. And I'm like, let me think about it. And my buddy goes, no, bro, don't understand. I'm not making $1. This is a gift. I found a car. You go from 1986 to 1990, 100,000 miles less, and it took me 3 days to make a decision. Finally, I made a decision. Finally. And my buddy asked me, bro, I don't understand. Why it took 3 days? And the truth answer was, I didn't have an answer. The scary part. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. So I went to this self-development training, and I'm like, why it took me, dude, the same amount of money. And I realized that growing up in Brazil, I didn't have a lot of money. And because I didn't have a lot of money, I always come from this place of like, I'm not worthy of nice things. And when you come from a place of like, not worthy of nice things, I don't care how hard you work, you're going to engage in self-sabotage. And that was my story until I became aware. So one of the things I want to share with you, please write it down on your phone, on your paper, please write it down. Awareness is strong enough to break a pattern. Being aware of a pattern is enough to break that pattern. So a lot of times we don't realize the power that you have to reset, to push the button today, to reset it today. Right? This call.
You, Roberto, can I ask a question?
You can ask him any questions you want to. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I love everything that you're saying, and I'm typing as he goes, guys, so I have all the notes for you. So what you just said is being aware of the pattern is enough to break it.
Yeah.
I can do that for a couple of days and stay super connected to it. How do you do that long term? How do you stay connected to breaking that pattern? I'm really good at starting new things, but to stay connected to the vision of it after the first few days or the first week or the first month, Is that where we go back to the anchors and the rituals that connect you to your value?
That's gonna be the next piece of the behaviors, the anchors is like, anything that I said so far, if you don't have action to support it, right, won't work. But for me, is once you become aware of the pattern, you can break it. Let me give an example. One of the patterns, and obviously, I teach public speaking and storytelling class, which is I'm not talking about today. But years ago, I used to say the word right a lot, like right, right, and every couple words was right. And then one day my business partner said, "Hey man, we gotta stop this filler words." And he called me out of, and I'm like, I didn't want to do anything about it. Then eventually said, "Dude, you cannot be a speaking coach with this bad behavior." And then we agree. For every right, I was paying him $1. So $300 later, I learned my lesson. Right? I learned my lesson. I'm not perfect, but I dramatically reduced the amount of rights that I use. So the idea is to become aware of the pattern, have some consequences, and put a stick and a carrot, put a carrot right there, and then you have in front of you and have accountability coaches, have someone that supports to do it 100%. Like especially when we have a new pattern that you have to, sometimes like when you try 10 things different times, it's hard to do it. But if you think about like what is the one thing that you become a master next year that you're going to focus on, huh? What is the one thing? I don't know if I answer your question, Jody, but like,
you did. It was perfect.
So when you talk about these belief systems, okay, we talk about, is it possible? Am I capable? Am I worthy? Now, Jody, I have a couple more minutes here. You've been teaching marketing for chiropractors for a long time. What is one example of a limiting belief that a doctor may have that you
I
see?
don't deserve to be successful.
Okay.
I shouldn't take a lot of money from people.
Okay, very good, right? So let's say my belief is I shouldn't take enough money to help people. And then you have a new people, and then now we're gonna charge a care, or you see someone else charging more. How does the person feel?
The
The
person
doctor,
who's not charging enough gets pissed.
yeah. And then you become more or less like you become less resourceful, less action, less results, and become the self-fulfilling prophets. What is another limited belief they have when it comes to marketing? What is another one?
I'm not smart enough to do it in a different way.
I'm not smart enough to do it in a different way. And then so now Jody invite you guys to her classes, and they'd be like, I'm not, if you feel like I'm not smart, how do you feel about showing up to class? Do you tap into more or less the potential to learn, to block on a calendar? Do you take
I would say, Roberto, the biggest tearjerker of all of our courses in Staffless Practice Academy is identifying who the one person and their one problem is that we specialize in helping. Because we've, especially as chiropractors, but also for my friends who are not chiropractors, we've been taught that we have to serve anybody who shows up on my doorstep. I need to open the door and give a red carpet and walk them in, whether or not they can pay, stay, refer, anything at all. And so when we get down to the nooks and crannies and I say, I want you to come up with one problem that you solve and one person who you solve it for, and that's it. Give me that one person. Give me everything about them. It is absolutely a tearjerker for people because they just to reframe. I help everybody at any time.
So this is a great example of having the limited belief is here. It would be I help anybody anytime and you change to here's what I help. You have way more clarity. You have more clarity in your marketing. You feel okay saying no. You're gonna say more yes. You become better converting that one person, the one problem, for example. That is a classic example, right? And so one question as you guys start pondering about your mindset is what do you have to believe in order to achieve your goals and fulfill your purpose? Now, Dr. Jory, do I stop here? I have or I have 5 more minutes. Do I stop or finish?
And fulfill your purpose. No, keep going.
So I have a couple more things here. So one of the things so if you see the pyramid, that's why I start on the top. Here's my purpose. Here's what I'm trying. Here's my purpose, why I do what I do. Here's my identity, right? The person is going to be able to fulfill this purpose. Here, my values. What do I value most? I'm experiencing. What do I have to believe in order to make this happen? And then I get into skills. I got to have skills, right? Marketing skills, communication skills, listening skills, team build, whatever you're trying to do, you're going to have to work on skills. Now, obviously, your skills are dependent on the purpose and your goals that you have. But I want to give you one skill that I work with the 50 industries. They all need it. They all want it. Is this skill? Is it become a master storyteller? I'm not going to get into it because storytelling is one of the most powerful things that you can learn. Why? Because storytelling doesn't apply to public speaking per se, applies to webinars, videos, email marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, one-on-one presentations, report of findings, even when you write your bio, right? So if there's one skill that you can go get books around, go to Amazon, there's so many different great books out there that I really encourage you is to figure out, become really good at storytelling, especially, look, hear me out, especially the whole AI, which AI has already changed how we operate. It's not like it's going to change, it's already changed how we do things. It's going to keep changing. And one of the things that I think is going to differentiate human beings is the stories they have and how they tell the stories, right? Because while AI will be able to do copywriting and things of that nature, is when you're in front of someone, another human being, the skill that's going to matter, how you communicate. In addition to asking great questions, become a great listener, is to be able to tell a good story. I just want to show this because this is so powerful. Extra Gum, we all know Extra, right? As a huge brand in gum. They used to be the #1 gum in America, and then decline number 2, number 3. By the way, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the audio here. I want to stop sharing the audio. Now, here you go. Now it's going to work, okay? And then Extra Gum, this is a really cool story. Extra Gum, they come up and they said, hey, we lost market share. We need some marketing message. And then they hire this company, and this company come up and say, you know what? Let's promote the #1 benefit of the gum. Let's see what happens. So they promote it. Extra Gum, the flavor lasts longer. So they launched this campaign. The campaign failed. So now they had another marketing agency, and the other marketing agency asked a couple different questions. #1, when people buy gum, what is the context? And for the most people, you're in a grocery store, right? And then you're leaving, and then you see, oh, you see a gum, and it's an impulse buy. So they said, you got to have like a really hardcore emotion attached to it so people are coached to remember. #2, when you're eating gum and there's people around you, what do you do? What do you do?
You offer them.
You offer them. All right? So ladies and gentlemen, relax, watch this with me.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
get extra.
with you.
I know. It's deadly, huh? I know. I know. I know.
Stop
It's deadly.
it. Don't play it again, Roberto.
I know, it's deadly. So the point being is that so they went, but they eventually they got this story and they blast all over the social media. They went back #1 again, and they had this very emotional uh tone to it. So one of the things that I want you guys to write this down: facts tell, stories sell. Okay, facts tell, stories sell. So as you're looking at your purpose, whatever you're gonna do, and again, I do this for over 50 industries. Storytelling, when it comes to communication, is one of the things. And to wrap up, your behaviors basically comes down to two things: what do you do, what are you gonna do, right? And how you're gonna do it. So the what and the how. The what is like, well, I'll give a couple tips. Every day in the morning, I wake up, I have my mindset routine, and I write down everything I'm gonna do, short term, long term. And the how we're gonna do it, that's the what. The how is always try to operate from this magnetic state of mind. And my core emotions are empathy, certainty, gratitude, and love. That means that the places that when I wake up in the morning and I'm gonna operate from, I'm gonna take action, I'm gonna implement my behaviors, I'm gonna take action, I'm gonna coach, I'm gonna speak, whatever I'm gonna do, I wanna come from a place of certainty, a place of empathy, respecting someone else, gratitude for the opportunity, and unconditional love. And lastly, so what I'm doing, how am I showing up, why I'm doing it. All right. But there's the what I'm gonna do and how I'm showing up. And lastly is your environment. Environment is why we cannot control our environment, we can influence our environment. And one simple example that I always give: environment being family, friends, office, city, economy. We cannot change, you can influence. And one example that I give, I love this example. This is my stand-up desk, right? For many years, I was sitting like this. Then I started hanging out with chiropractors. They go, bro, gotta have a stand-up desk. So now I'm standing up here, right? I can so thanks to chiropractic, an example of like a small shift in my environment, in my office environment, and help my increase my productivity. So here we have a 39 minutes.
So good. So, what I love, one of the things I love so much about you, Roberto, is everything that you just said is absolutely my experience with working with you. So, this is when I'm going to log off of our live because we're on Facebook Live in front of about 5,000 people right now. So I'm going to hop off. And
Okay.
if you, and we're going to stay in the Zoom for a few minutes. For all of our club members, our sweeties, our clients, come on into the Zoom if you're not already there, and we're going to have a Q&A with Roberto. If you are watching this on Facebook, this is the last day to get a practice suite for $47. It's normally a $4,800 piece that we're putting together for you. If you're interested in putting all of the pieces that Roberto was just talking about into one screen, one platform, one URL to get to connect with the right people at the right times, please drop a comment below. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Okay. Hello, my brother. For my friends in the Zoom, little do you know that right before this video, right before we started, my son is leaving this morning for Iowa. Him and my husband are going to the airport. Here's the story. And they leave for the airport at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm freaking out because I don't even know where Iowa is, right? We're in New Jersey. And they call me an hour and a half later. They had just gotten to the airport and my son left his wallet at home with his license. So I look at my clock and I literally had 3 hours. It's an hour and a half drive to get in the car, get to the airport, drop the wallet off, get back in the car, get home, and be here for you guys. So, I mean, talk about storytelling.
That's good.
For my friends, my dear friends who are in the Zoom, does anybody have, I mean, how incredible is that, first of all? And second of all, does anybody have questions for Roberto? If so, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask away. I'm just going to check out the chat, Roberto.
Okay.
Um,
We have Wendy, Shanda,
He's in New Zealand, Roberto.
Nancy, Ciara.
Hi,
We have
Sean.
Cairo. Is it Cairo?
Cairo
Cairo.
in the house.
Has a name, Cairo.
That's my love, Diana. She's so sweet. Roberto, wherever you guys watch the replay of this, you'll have a link to connect with Roberto and lean into his offerings. Do you want to tell us about anything that you're doing now?
I just want to ask I want to answer first of all, I want to answer any questions when it comes to mindset, getting fired up about the purpose, beliefs, values, fear. I haven't touched about fear. What is the one thing that you guys struggle who can help out?
I think the biggest thing for me, I can answer that. I'm like, raise my hand, right? Giving myself permission to be great, to do great, and to leave a legacy and to create generational wealth. And if they can, why can't I too? I think that's the biggest. It's the biggest thing I see, especially my friends who I've worked with personally in the Zoom here. I know that that's the thing that we all have in common. Like, who am I to be great? Like nipping that in the bud and going for it and being great.
First of all, Dr. Shonda, thanks so much. Thank you so much. This was amazing, much needed. Appreciate that. You know, I've been super into the self-development for 20 plus years. And I don't think there's a quick fix. I think there's a work in progress. I think the more time you spend thinking about, the more time you put into why I'm doing this thing, my purpose, what do I have, your belief system. I can give you many, many examples of sometimes we get trapped on our own heads, and our own limitation. So how do we stop from being trapped? I think like the beauty about you guys, you work with Jody, Dr. Jody, and having her, being able to share. And it's like a lot of times these limitations, they're blind spots, right? And one analogy that I use is this: imagine you're the best driver on the road, right? You're driving a Ferrari in the most beautiful highway, and you're going fast. Then sometimes a blind spot can cause you to crash. And sometimes these blind spots are these fears or limitations, limited beliefs, and being able to have someone out there to support you and being able to share and get feedback perspective is awesome. Doesn't mean that you need therapy. Doesn't mean like sometimes it's literally just an insight, having a conversation and seeing from a different perspective, right? One in my experience, I want to say this. Nobody mentioned here, but one of my experiences has coaching a lot of people has to do with the fear of being judged. Okay, a lot of people, they are not all in towards something, whatever their something is, because they don't want to be judged. Okay, that's what comes to fear. In my perspective, that's the big one. And so here's a reframe. What if I told you that you're already being judged?
Right.
What if I told you by not talking, by not promoting yourself, by not recording video, by not doing anything, literally like no marketing, you're already being judged? Roberto, how is that possible? Well, here's how that's possible. So let's say if you look where your practice is or your business is, if you're not a doctor, and I promise within 10 miles, there's people, I promise you there's within 10 miles, maybe 5 if you live in a big city, there's people who need your help. Okay, they need your help. They're willing to pay for your help, but they don't know you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Obscurity is a form of judgment, right? Because hey, have you heard about Dr. So-and-so? No, never heard about it. Well, maybe he or she is not that good, because if he or she was really good, guess what? I would have known about it. So this idea about not wanting to do things, promoting yourself, recording video, putting yourself out there, or even working on change your major, right? Change your direction, change your career, open a business, and you don't want to be judged. I'm telling you now, people already, either they are judging you because you're obscure, right? Or they're going to judge you anyway. So it's kind of like, dude, there's no, that game is just part of the process, right? That's why I like to focus on, and here's my purpose, here's my identity, here's what I value. I'm gonna go for, here's my belief system, and here's the set of actions and skills I'm gonna take to make that happen. And that's what, those are the things that you can control. You cannot control how people's perceptions or judgments, but you can control the clarity and the actions you have, right? So
I love you.
I love you guys. Anybody wants to connect, I'm on pretty much all platforms. Roberto Monaco, Dr. Jody can put my link there. And much love to you guys. It's a pleasure.
All right, you guys, next week we go into boot camp for December. Roberto, thank you for your time. You are my favorite. I'm so grateful for you. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Go make the world better with great care.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.